If you were watching TV growing up, you usually had a few stations, later on 100, if you had cable. Across the pond, you only had access to a few. Later on, satellite changed that. Why am I bringing this up? 30 years ago, an infamous shake-up in British television not only changed British television as a whole, but was met with super controversy. As we talk about the most infamous 1991 franchise round. Next on the Retrospective. Television first came to England in 1936, when the major transmission in London commenced. The BBC television service at the time was the only television system in the UK. In wake of World War II in 1939, the network went off the air, so it wouldn't be detected by radar detection. As other countries did the same during the time period. With the end of the war in 1945, transmissions were back up and running within the following year. However, in 1955, some changes began to happen, which our company begins. The ITV network came about as a result of the Television Act of 1954, which paved the way for the establishment of a commercial television service in the United Kingdom, and created the Independent Television Authority. The act itself was out without controversy, and much debate ensued both in the British press and the British Parliament. The act itself was passed on the basis that the ITA would regulate the new service and ensure that new service did not follow the same path taken by the American networks, which was received as welcome by some commentators. For example, it was made obligatory that the commercial screen carry material from programs. And by 1962, the entire country was finally covered after the last network, Channel Television, finally was able to go on air in the Channel Islands. In 1968, the rail service of TTW, Radio Future of London, both changed into HTB and Thames respectively, while the northeast of England would be split into Granada and be operated by Yorkshire instead. Meanwhile, weekend television services were mostly abolished except for London, where LWT would take the license over from ATV. By 1978, all ITV regions had begun color broadcasting, but other than a change of name to the IBA in 1972, not much had happened. But an 11-week labor strike in 1979 forced the network off the air for 2 months, except for Channel Television, which had to remain open or face certain bankruptcy. In 1980, for 2 companies would lose their regional contracts after review. Southern Television, which served the South, and newly Southeast region lost to TBS, while Westwood will lose its region to TSW, although TSW would take control in August of 1981, although kept using the Westwood name all the way up until the original contract end at the beginning of 1982. Meanwhile, a new breakfast region, TVAM, would be on the air from 6 to 9:25 a.m. By the mid-1980s, most regions were doing super fine. However, with the changing of privatization on multiple things, this effectively created a new act, the Broadcasting Act of 1990, which not only allowed companies to buy each other out after 1994, but allowed deregulations, which led into the most infamous act of all time. As a result of this act, the Independent Broadcasting Authority was abolished and was replaced by the ITC, would commence another regional franchise round. If you're from America and you don't know what this is, it's very simple. Each company that wanted to run a region would need to submit a bid to ITC, the company that runs the ITV network, what they wanted to pay and any programming would offer. We don't have this here in the States. The closest we have to it is ownership, where companies would own a station or the networks would own their station if it's in a top city. Back onto the franchise round. Unlike other rounds before this, 1968 and 1980 respectively, this one would be a close ballot. Basically, you would have to guess what your opponents were bidding and try to bid higher. But there's a catch, which I'll get into later. By May 1991, all bids had been mostly submitted. This would change British television when the results were revealed on October the 16th, 1991. Before the reveal of the results, Central, Scottish Television, and Border Television realized that they were the only regions not being bidded and were bidded unopposed and automatically won the franchise and bid the least amount they could keep. In the end, 4 companies would lose their contracts to other companies, some of which were definitely shocking. Thames, which had been producing quality content, was outbid by £11 million to Colleton, a company that ultimately made crappy content. TBS, in the end, bid an outrageous £59,800,000 for 10 years. Adjusted for inflation, that would be £131 million today's money. No wonder they were rejected in favor of Meridian. TSW also suffered the same fate, despite being the highest. Their bid was considered too high, with West Country taking the win. And TVM, who was outbid by GMTV. So far, that has been the last major regional shuffle that has happened. In 2002, all regions owned by Canada and Colleton effectively changed their name to ITV1, losing their regional identity. As of 2021, only 2 companies remain. UTV was bought out in 2015, while Channel was bought out in 2011, leaving only STV and ITV to serve the region. Therefore, we end the retrospective here. What a controversial ride it was. We hope that you continue to watch this channel and hope that you subscribe for more good content in the near future. Thank you for guys watching, and see you guys later.